Welcome to another deep dive. You know that feeling, don't you? That moment when you're faced with just a mountain of information about a major global company, trying to figure out what truly matters for its future, what's really going to move the needle. Well, today we're taking a bit of a shortcut to understanding one of the real giants of healthcare, a company that touches millions of lives every single day. Our mission today is an intensive deep dive into Roche Holding AG. They're a global leader, really standing at this fascinating intersection of pharmaceuticals and diagnostics. We're here to unravel why this company is currently navigating what industry analysts are calling a critical strategic inflection point. To guide us, we've pored over the most recent investment analyses, scoured annual reports, and distilled a wealth of industry insights. Think of this as your curated stack of sources, transformed into the most important nuggets of knowledge you need.
And our ultimate aim for you, the listener, is to give you that crystal clear understanding, that genuine aha moment. We want you to walk away with a precise picture of Roche's current position, the significant challenges it has already successfully navigated, and the big strategic questions. Questions that are going to define its trajectory not just through 2025, but well into the next decade. Think of it as gaining the crucial, actionable insights without having to spend days sifting through all that raw data yourself.
Right, getting straight to the core of it.
Exactly. We're going to help you understand not just what is happening at Roche, but why it matters, and what it truly means for the broader healthcare landscape, and indeed for all of us as patients and consumers of these innovations.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Many of you might know Roche from their groundbreaking medicines, perhaps for cancer or multiple sclerosis, or maybe from their diagnostic tests that seem to be everywhere. But what genuinely defines this company at its very core? What makes it distinct from its peers? And, well, why is that important right now?
The foundation of Roche's enduring strength, it really lies in how it's structured. It's an incredibly unique integrated business model. We're not just talking about two powerful divisions under one corporate roof. At its core, Roche operates globally with two primary divisions, pharmaceuticals and diagnostics, both headquartered in Basel, Switzerland. But their overarching strategic principle, their sort of North Star, is personalized healthcare.
Personalized healthcare. Okay.
And this isn't just a buzzword for them. It's a deliberate, integrated approach where these two divisions work, well, hand in hand.
How does that work in practice, that hand-in-hand thing?
Imagine it this way. The diagnostics arm uses advanced tools, often sophisticated genetic or biomarker tests, to identify precisely which patients are most likely to benefit from a specific, targeted therapy developed by their pharmaceuticals division. This creates a powerful, almost symbiotic feedback loop. So, for example, if Roche develops a cutting-edge drug for a particular type of cancer driven by a specific genetic mutation, their diagnostics division can develop a precise test to identify patients carrying that exact mutation. This ensures the right treatment gets to the right person, significantly improving treatment outcomes, reducing wasted resources, and making therapy far more effective. This tightly integrated approach between diagnosis and treatment is it's a profound differentiator in the notoriously complex and competitive healthcare industry. It makes it very difficult for competitors who specialize in just one area to replicate.
That sounds incredibly powerful in theory, but how easily can competitors replicate that? I mean, is it a true moat? Or could a company just say, acquire a diagnostics division and achieve the same synergy? And maybe how flexible is such an integrated giant when a specific drug or test area needs to pivot quickly? Can it be a bit slow?
That's a great question, and it really gets to the heart of their competitive edge. While theoretically, yes, a competitor could acquire both, building that deeply ingrained culture, the shared scientific expertise, the operational seamlessness between two such distinct disciplines, well, that takes decades. It's not just about owning the parts. It's about optimizing their interaction. The unique advantage is that Roche can design diagnostics alongside drug development, ensuring perfect compatibility and clinical utility right from day one.
Ah, okay, so it's baked in from the start.
Exactly. This deep integration makes it genuinely challenging for others to catch up. And yes, while being a large organization can sometimes imply slower movement, Roche's recent history actually shows remarkable agility, especially when faced with enormous pressures.
And speaking of enormous pressures, the synergy, this very powerful integrated model, was put to a monumental test recently, wasn't it? When we look at the period between, say, 2023 and 2024, what kind of perfect storm did Roche have to navigate, and what do the results tell us about the resilience of their strategic approach?
You're right. It was a truly formidable challenge. Roche successfully navigated what many in the industry would consider dual headwinds, a scenario where they were hit simultaneously from two major revenue sources. They faced the dreaded patent cliff for several of their legacy oncology blockbusters, essentially losing exclusivity on hugely profitable drugs. At the exact same time, they saw a sharp normalization of their pandemic-driven diagnostics revenue.
The COVID testing boom fading away.
Precisely, which had been artificially inflated by COVID-19 testing demand. So these were two massive revenue challenges happening concurrently, and their ability to withstand this speaks volumes about their underlying strength and, frankly, meticulous strategic planning.
Can you put some numbers on that? How big were those hits?
Yeah, to put this into a stark financial perspective, their legacy oncology trio, that's Avastin, Herceptin, and Rituxan, collectively saw sales fall by a staggering 22% in 2023 due to the aggressive entry of biosimilar competition. These were drugs that, for years, had been absolute cash cows for the company. Simultaneously, the diagnostics division, which had been a massive growth engine during the pandemic, saw its sales fall sharply by 13% at constant exchange rates, or CER, in 2023.
CR, okay. Constant rate.
Exactly. This was overwhelmingly due to the collapse in demand for COVID-19 tests, representing a substantial CHF 4.3 billion decline for 2022 levels. So these were not minor ripples. These were massive multi-billion franc impacts on their top line. It's the kind of scenario that could send many companies into a tailspin.
So with those massive sales declines for both legacy drugs and COVID tests, many might have expected a significant dip for Roche overall, yet they recovered strongly in 2024. What's the hidden strength or maybe the strategic masterstroke that allowed them to not just weather that storm, but actually return to solid growth?
That's precisely the fascinating part of this story. Despite those formidable challenges, robust growth from a newer portfolio of innovative medicines more than compensated for these losses. It didn't just stabilize the company, it actually returned the group to solid growth in 2024. This resilience is a profound validation of their long-term R&D investments and their strategic foresight.
So the new stuff picked up the slack, and then some.
And then some. Let's look at the shifting performance metrics to fully grasp this transition. In 2023, Roche's total sales were CHF 58.7 billion, a modest 1% increase at CER. This figure, however, it kind of masked a critical underlying story. The pharmaceuticals division was already showing its strength, growing a robust 6% at CER, essentially carrying the weight while diagnostics was shedding those pandemic-inflated revenues. But then, as we move into 2024, the picture clarifies dramatically. Group sales accelerated to CHF 60.5 billion, representing a healthy 7% growth at CER. Pharma continued its robust performance, up 8%, and crucially, diagnostics. Diagnostics not only normalized but returned to growth at 4% CER, with its underlying base business, excluding COVID-related sales, actually growing an impressive 8%.
Wow, 8% underlying growth in diagnostics even after that huge COVID drop-off.
Exactly. These 2024 figures confirm a truly successful post-pandemic normalization for diagnostics and a continued strong performance in pharma. This successful transition effectively de-risks the company's near-term financial profile. It validates its R&D strategy over the past decade. The company's focus has decisively shifted from a period of managing significant revenue headwinds to one of sustainable growth, driven by new innovations. It's a testament to the power of constant R&D and strategic portfolio management.
And just a quick reminder on CER, you mentioned it again, constant exchange rates. Why is that so important here?
Right, good point. It stands for constant exchange rates, meaning we're stripping out the distorting effects of currency fluctuations to see the true underlying business performance. This is particularly important for a global company like Roche, headquartered in Switzerland, where the strong Swiss franc can often make reported sales figures in local currency look less impressive than the actual operational growth achieved. It gives us a clearer picture.
Got it. Essential for understanding the real momentum. So if the older blockbusters were facing biosimilar competition and the pandemic revenues were fading, what exactly were these new pillars, these new medicines that fueled this impressive comeback? What now defines Roche's growth story?
The growth is now powered by a truly impressive cohort of blockbuster and high-growth products, especially in rapidly advancing fields like neuroscience, ophthalmology, and hematology. In 2024, just 4 of their top growth drivers, Vabysmo, Phesgo, Ocrevus, and Hemlibra, generated a combined CHF 16.9 billion in sales.
16.9 billion from just 4 products.
That's a significant amount of revenue from their newer portfolio. Let's break those down a bit because they represent some incredible scientific breakthroughs. In neuroscience, we have Ocrevus. It's a leading treatment for multiple sclerosis, It brought in CHF 6.7 billion in sales in 2024, growing 9% at CER. What makes Ocrevus particularly unique and successful is its approval for both relapsing and primarily progressive forms of MS, which is a significant advantage in a complex disease area.
Okay, so wider applicability.
Exactly. Then there's Hemlibra in hematology, a truly transformative therapy for hemophilia A, a serious bleeding disorder. It achieved CHF 4.5 billion in sales, up 12% CER, by offering a dramatically improved treatment regimen, easier for patients.
Right. And the others, Vabysmo and Phesgo.
Right. In ophthalmology, Vabysmo has shown absolutely explosive growth, with 2024 sales reaching CHF 3.9 billion, an astonishing 68% increase at CER.
68%.
Yeah, it's huge. This drug is used for severe eye diseases like wet age-related macular degeneration, NAMD, and diabetic macular edema, DME, which can cause blindness, so it's addressing a massive unmet need. And in oncology, Phesgo, a convenient subcutaneous breast cancer treatment, surged 62% in 2024 to CHF 1.7 billion. It offers a much more patient-friendly option compared to older FAV treatments.
Subcutaneous meaning under the skin injection.
Precisely. Quicker, easier. Even Tecentriq, another key oncology drug, remains stable at CHF 3.6 billion, continuing to contribute significantly. These products represent significant innovation, address critical patient needs, and have achieved impressive market penetration. It demonstrates that Roche's R&D engine is clearly delivering the goods.
That's a powerhouse lineup of new therapies, but, understanding where Roche sells these products highlights another key area of focus and, frankly, some risk for the company. What does their geographic footprint tell us? Is it evenly spread?
You've hit on a crucial point there. While Roche operates globally with a presence in virtually every major market, its geographic footprint reveals a significant concentration risk, particularly within its pharmaceuticals division. The U.S. market alone accounts for a massive 53.7% of its pharmaceutical divisional sales in fiscal year 2024.
Over half from the U.S. alone.
Over half.
Yep.
While the diagnostics division has a more balanced footprint across various regions, even there, we see specific regional vulnerabilities. For example, Asia-Pacific sales for diagnostics declined by a significant 15% in the first half of 2025.
15%? Why was that?
Primarily due to intensifying healthcare pricing reforms in China. So policy changes having a direct impact.
Right.
This heavy reliance on the U.S. market has historically been a source of high-margin growth for Roche due to the pricing power available there. However, it now undeniably represents a significant concentration risk, especially with intensifying pricing pressures and legislative changes like the IRA in that market.
The Inflation Reduction Act, yeah.
Exactly. So if you're thinking about the long-term stability and growth trajectory of major healthcare providers like Roche, understanding this geographic distribution is absolutely crucial. Global policy changes in key markets could have outsized and immediate effects on a single company's financial performance. It's a reminder that even the biggest players are susceptible to regulatory shifts beyond their control.
That reliance on the U.S. market and the vulnerability to policy changes in places like China, it really brings home the point that Roche isn't just an island unto itself. It operates within a truly massive and constantly shifting global healthcare landscape. So how do these internal dynamics at Roche connect to the bigger currents shaping the entire industry? What are the overarching trends transforming the life sciences sector?
That's a critical lens through which to view Roche's strategy. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the entire life sciences industry is undergoing profound structural and technological changes, and Roche's strategies are really a direct, deliberate response to these powerful dynamics.
Yeah.
The global pharmaceutical market, which alone constitutes about 70% of the massive $1.9 trillion life sciences industry.
1.9 trillion, wow.
It's huge, and it's projected to grow at a healthy compound annual growth rate of 6-7% through 2028. This growth is driven by powerful, almost unstoppable secular trends. Aging populations worldwide, the rising prevalence of chronic diseases like cancer and diabetes, and continuous scientific advances in emerging therapeutic modalities like cell and gene therapies, antibody-drug conjugates, ADCs, and radioligand therapies. Key growth areas are consistently oncology, immunology, and the rapidly expanding markets for diabetes and obesity treatments.
Okay, so strong tailwinds overall, but you mentioned challenges.
Right. However, this impressive growth forecast isn't without significant challenges and disruptive forces. We're currently seeing the AI revolution rapidly transforming drug discovery and development. By 2025, some projections suggest that as much as 30% of new drugs could be discovered or significantly optimized using AI, potentially reducing preclinical timelines and costs by 25–50%.
That sounds like a good thing. Faster, cheaper drug discovery.
It is, in terms of boosting overall industry productivity. But it also lowers barriers to entry for smaller, more agile biotech firms, intensifying competition for everyone, including giants like Roche. Then there's intensifying pricing pressure, particularly in that crucial U.S. market.
Yeah.
The U.S. Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA, is a game changer.
Yes.
It allows direct government price negotiation for high expenditure drugs, fundamentally challenging the industry's long-standing pricing power. This legislative shift directly impacts companies like Roche with high-value pharmaceuticals. And finally, strategic M&A is accelerating across the board. Biopharma M&A is expected to pick up significantly into 2025 as large companies look to replenish pipelines facing patent expiries and acquire new growth drivers. This creates both opportunities and intense competition for attractive assets.
So, on one hand, powerful demographic and scientific tailwinds, but on the other, disruptive technology, fierce pricing pressure, and an M&A arms race. That's a complex environment. The diagnostics market, Roche's other core segment, also has its own unique set of drivers and complexities, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The global in vitro diagnostics, or IVD market, where in vitro means in glass, essentially referring to tests done outside the body, like blood or tissue samples, was estimated at $106 billion in 2024. It's forecast to grow at about a 4.1% compound annual growth rate to over $155 billion by 2034. Its growth drivers are incredibly robust.
Like what?
Well, increasing disease burden from infectious diseases and chronic conditions like cancer and diabetes means more frequent and accurate testing is continually needed. Personalized medicine, which is Roche's core strategic principle, absolutely requires sophisticated diagnostics to stratify patients and guide tailored treatments, especially molecular diagnostics and genomics. And the decentralization of care means a growing adoption of point-of-care testing, or POCT.
Point of care, so testing closer to the patient.
Exactly. In clinics, pharmacies, and even homes for faster, more immediate clinical decisions. What's truly fascinating here is how technological advancements in lab automation, AI-powered data analysis, and the miniaturization of testing platforms are further transforming this landscape. These innovations not only improve accuracy and speed, but also make testing more accessible. This ensures a remarkably stable recurring revenue stream for major players like Roche, making it a powerful counterbalance to the more volatile, high-risk, high-reward pharmaceutical business. It's foundational.
One of the most significant and enduring challenges, especially for pharmaceutical companies, is that dreaded patent cliff. We saw how Roche's legacy oncology trio was hit. How is this phenomenon changing the game for innovators like Roche today? Is it getting worse?
Indeed, the patent cliff is no longer just a cliff. It's become more like a rolling earthquake for the industry. An estimated $200 billion in branded drug revenue is at risk from patent expirations in the coming years. And biosimilars, these are lower-cost, highly similar versions of biologic drugs, much like generic versions of small molecule drugs, are now entering markets faster and deeper than ever before.
How fast are we talking?
Well, for some oncology biosimilars in the U.S., they've captured nearly 50% of the market volume within their first year of launch.
50% in year one.
Yeah, it's dramatic. This isn't just about losing sales for the original innovators. It's a fundamental shift in market dynamics. When a biosimilar enters the market, it creates a cascade effect. Not only does the original brand drug lose market share, but all prices, including those of the biosimilars themselves, tend to drop significantly due to intense competition. This generates immense savings for healthcare systems, which is a good thing for patients and payers.
Right.
But it forces innovators like Roche to run even faster on the innovation treadmill. This creates what we call an innovation squeeze. Companies are compelled to either invest heavily in higher-risk, truly novel, first-in-class therapies, or to develop biobetters next-generation versions of their own drugs with demonstrable improvements in efficacy, safety, or patient convenience before biosimilar erosion hits too hard.
Biobetters. So improving their own drugs before the patent runs out.
Exactly. Roche's development of Phesgo is a prime example of this biobetter strategy in action, and it's a masterclass in proactive lifecycle management. Phesgo is a fixed-dose subcutaneous combination of two established intravenous breast cancer drugs, Perjeta and Herceptin. This aims to transition the market to a new, more convenient, patent-protected product before biosimilars of the individual intravenous components can gain significant traction.
So making it easier for the patient before the competition arrives.
Precisely. Imagine the impact for a patient. Instead of multiple intravenous infusions, they get a single, quicker shot under the skin, often in a less clinical setting, freeing up hospital chairs and saving time. Phesgo's explosive sales growth actually represents a planned, controlled cannibalization of Roche's older products.
Cannibalizing their own sales?
Yes, but in a controlled way to protect overall market share by offering something genuinely better. The development of a subcutaneous formulation of Ocrevus, their MS blockbuster, suggests this is a core and repeatable strategy for the company, proving its effectiveness and resilience.
That's a crucial strategy, proactively defending market share rather than reacting. So how does Roche's strategic response to all these industry trends shape its competitive standing? What gives Roche its competitive edge, and how is it defending that edge in this rapidly changing, highly competitive market?
This raises an important question. What gives Roche its competitive edge, and how is it defending that edge? First, in terms of market leadership, Roche truly wears a dual crown. It is the undisputed global leader in the in vitro diagnostics, or IVD, market, holding a commanding 19–20% share. This leadership is sustained by a vast installed base of over 100,000 diagnostic platforms worldwide and a continuously expanding menu of tests.
100,000 platforms. That's a huge footprint.
It is. And historically, it's also been dominant in oncology therapeutics, with around a 30% market share in some segments, despite recent challenges from patent expiries. This dual leadership, being a top player in both diagnostics and pharmaceuticals, is rare and incredibly powerful. It's not just about having a large market share, but about maintaining that position against formidable competitors year after year.
Can you give some examples of that leadership in specific drug areas?
Sure. Let's look at specific key product franchises. In multiple sclerosis, MS, Ocrevus is truly dominant, with an estimated 38% market share by value in its segment. Its unique approval for both relapsing and primary progressive forms of MS gives it a powerful position, and it currently has about 24% patient share across the U.S. and 5 largest European markets.
Okay.
For hemophilia A, Hemlibra has fundamentally transformed treatment for many patients, becoming the most prescribed prophylactic therapy, displacing older, less convenient intravenous treatments. And in ophthalmology, Vabysmo has shown that explosive growth, rapidly capturing market share and reaching 25% in wet age-related macular degeneration, NAMD, and 18% in diabetic macular edema, DME, in the U.S. by Q1 2024.
Directly challenging the big incumbent Eylea.
Directly challenging Regeneron's long-dominant Eylea. These market positions aren't accidental. They're built on deeply embedded competitive advantages and a constant drive for innovation.
So what are these competitive advantages? What are the moats, so to speak, that allow Roche to protect these powerful market positions from rivals, particularly in such a fiercely competitive landscape?
Roche's competitive moats are robust and multi-layered, providing significant long-term protection. First, at its heart, is its innovation engine. Roche has sustained truly massive R&D investment, spending CHF 13.2 billion in 2023. This is among the highest in the entire industry, representing over 22% of its group sales. That's a clear signal of where their priorities lie. This fuels their pipeline and ensures a constant stream of new differentiated products.
13 billion on R&D.
Yeah. Second, and arguably their most unique and durable advantage, is their integrated pharma plus diagnostics model. This creates that powerful, self-reinforcing ecosystem that is incredibly difficult for competitors to replicate. Think of it like a Formula One team that designs both the engine, the drugs, and the advanced telemetry systems, the diagnostics, that tell them exactly how to tune that engine for each specific track and driver, meaning the patient.
That's a good analogy.
They're not just selling you a fast car, they're optimizing every single aspect of its performance for your specific needs, enabling true personalized healthcare. Competitors typically specialize in one or the other. But Roche's ability to develop companion diagnostics alongside targeted drugs enhances R&D productivity, improves clinical outcomes, and creates a significant barrier to entry.
Okay, so R&D spend, the integrated model. What else?
Third, their deep expertise in biologics is a huge advantage. Approximately 75% of their pharmaceutical sales come from complex large molecule drugs. These are proteins or other biological substances derived from living organisms, like antibodies. These are much harder and more expensive to replicate than small molecule generics, providing a natural scientific buffer against competition.
Harder for biosimilars to copy?
Exactly. Finally, their global commercial scale means they have deeply entrenched sales, marketing, and distribution networks in virtually every major market. This allows for rapid market penetration and ensures their innovative products can reach patients worldwide quickly and efficiently. These moats collectively make Roche a formidable force in healthcare.
Those truly sound like robust competitive advantages. But in such a fast-changing industry, is there any risk that this deeply integrated model could also become a rigidity, maybe slowing down decision-making compared to more agile, specialized biotech firms? Where are the potential cracks in that fortress?
That's a very perceptive question, and it points to a classic dilemma for large integrated companies. While the synergy is powerful, there's always the risk of bureaucracy or slower decision-making, especially when compared to a nimble biotech focused on just one therapeutic area. The integration requires complex internal coordination, and resource allocation between two distinct business cultures can be a challenge. We saw some of that perhaps with past acquisitions that didn't fully pan out, leading to impairments later on.
Right, the write-downs.
Exactly. However, Roche is actively working to mitigate these by empowering smaller, more agile teams internally and through their targeted M&A strategy, which brings in external innovation without disrupting their core. But the competitive landscape remains incredibly fierce, no doubt about it.
So even with these strong moats and clear advantages, who are the main contenders vying for market share, both on the pharmaceutical and diagnostic fronts? Who keeps them awake at night?
Even with its strengths, Roche faces intense pressure from a diverse array of competitors. In pharmaceuticals, its primary competitors are other large, research-driven companies with massive R&D budgets and global reach. We're talking about giants like Novartis, Johnson & Johnson, Merck, whose Keytruda is a dominant force in immuno-oncology.
Keytruda's everywhere.
It really is. Also Pfizer, AbbVie, and AstraZeneca. The competition here is often about who can innovate faster and more effectively, who can secure the next blockbuster, and who can best navigate the complex regulatory and pricing environments, especially with the rise of new therapeutic modalities.
And on the diagnostic side?
In diagnostics, the main competitors are large, diversified healthcare technology companies such as Abbott Laboratories, Danaher Corporation, and Siemens Healthineers. Here, competition is driven by platform performance, the breadth of their test menu, reliability, and increasingly by sophisticated data and software solutions that integrate diagnostic results into clinical workflows.
Okay, the big established players. What about newer threats?
And we can't forget about emerging threats. Agile biotech companies are consistently driving innovation, often focusing on highly specialized areas or groundbreaking technologies that can disrupt established markets. Simultaneously, increasingly powerful biosimilar manufacturers like Sandoz and Amgen pose a direct and significant threat to the revenue streams of Roche's legacy biologic products. As we touched on, the rise of AI could further democratize drug discovery over the long term, potentially increasing the number of competitive threats as smaller players gain access to powerful tools once only available to giants with massive resources. So the landscape is constantly shifting.
That's a lot of pressure from all sides. So how does Roche differentiate itself amid these relentless threats? What's their evolving strategy to maintain that franchise dominance, as you called it, rather than just relying on individual drugs?
Roche differentiates itself through a clear focus on science-led innovation and by strategically leveraging the advantages of its integrated model. In pharmaceuticals, it targets novel biological pathways, for example, Vabysmo's unique dual-action mechanism for eye diseases, and it creates those biobetters we discussed, offering superior patient convenience, such as the subcutaneous Ocrevus or the combined Phesgo injection for breast cancer.
Right, making their own drugs better.
Exactly. In diagnostics, differentiation comes from having the industry's most comprehensive test portfolio, unparalleled reliability, and leadership in high-value areas like advanced tissue diagnostics and liquid biopsy, which can detect cancer markers from a simple blood draw. The company's competitive moat is actively evolving from reliance on individual blockbuster drugs to establishing what we call platform dominance within entire disease franchises.
Platform dominance, how does that work?
Let's take multiple sclerosis, for example. Roche is building a comprehensive portfolio. They have the leading infused therapy with Ocrevus. They've introduced a convenient subcutaneous option with Ocrevus SC, and they have a novel oral therapy, fenebrutinib, in late-stage development. This multi-pronged approach creates a far more resilient and defensible position. It makes it much harder for a single competitor to disrupt their leadership because they offer options for nearly every patient need and preference within that disease area.
Locking doctors and patients into their ecosystem, essentially.
It certainly increases the switching costs for clinicians and patients. It's a strategic move to lock in market leadership over the long term.
That robust competitive strategy is clearly reflected in its financial performance, or should be. Let's get into the nitty-gritty, because at the end of the day, financial performance tells a crucial story about a company's health and future. What did the numbers reveal about Roche's journey through this inflection point? How did they actually perform financially?
What's truly fascinating here is how Roche's financial results from 2023 and 2024 vividly demonstrate the success of their transition strategy in numbers. Looking at their revenue growth trends, the company saw its group sales climb from CHF 56.8 billion in 2018 to a peak of CHF 63.3 billion in 2022. Then, as we discussed, it experienced that dip to CHF 58.7 billion in 2023, primarily due to the sharp decline in its COVID-19 testing business. However, it recovered strongly to CHF 60.5 billion in 2024.
So they bounced back quickly on the top line.
They did. That dip in 2023 was primarily driven by that CHF 4.3 billion decline in COVID-19 product sales and persistent biosimilar erosion, which represented an additional CHF 1.0 billion headwind in 2024. But here's the critical insight. The underlying pharmaceutical-based business, meaning their non-COVID, non-legacy blockbuster drugs, actually grew by a robust 8% in 2023, and an even stronger 9% excluding COVID-related products in 2024.
9% underlying growth in pharma in 2024. That's strong.
It demonstrates remarkable underlying resilience. This strong base growth was powerful enough to absorb those significant negative impacts, preventing a major drop in overall revenue. It's like a strong engine overcoming significant drag in adverse conditions. And we must always consider the currency impact for a Swiss-headquartered company. The persistent strength of the Swiss franc creates a significant translational headwind when reporting results in CHF.
Right, making the reported numbers look weaker than the real performance.
Exactly. For example, in 2023, the 1% sales growth at constant exchange rates, or CER, became a 7% decline in reported CHF terms. In 2024, the adverse currency impact was still a significant 4 percentage points. So analyzing results at constant exchange rates is absolutely crucial for understanding the true operational momentum and business growth without the distortion of currency fluctuations.
So it's not just about how much money they're bringing in. It's about what they're actually keeping after all the expenses. How does their profitability look? And are there any nuances in those numbers we should be aware of, like that core versus IFRS thing?
Right. Roche profitability remains robust. But it's important to look at both core and IFRS numbers, as they tell different but equally important stories. Core operating profit, which strips out non-recurring items and amortization of intangibles from past acquisitions.
So a cleaner view of the ongoing business.
Kind of, yeah. It grew a strong 14% at CER in 2024 to CHF 20.8 billion. Furthermore, the core operating profit margin expanded from 32.8% in 2023 to 34.4% in 2024. This expansion is a key indicator of improving operational efficiency and the successful shift towards high-margin new products in their portfolio.
Okay, so core profit looks good. What about IFRS, the official number?
In contrast, the IFRS operating profit, which is their official reported profit under international financial reporting standards, actually decreased by 6% at CER in 2024. This divergence between core and IFRS highlights the importance of distinguishing underlying business performance from accounting adjustments for past investments.
Why the big difference?
The primary reason for the IFRS decline was significant non-cash impairment charges against goodwill related to past acquisitions, notably Flatiron Health and Spark Therapeutics. These are accounting adjustments reflecting a reassessment of the long-term value of those past investments on their balance sheet, not a deterioration in current day-to-day business operations.
So paper losses on old deals, not the current business struggling.
Essentially, yes. So if you're looking at a company's health, you need to dig deeper than just the headline numbers. Understanding core versus IFRS profit helps you see the true operational picture. The core profit gives us a clearer view of their day-to-day business efficiency, while IFRS provides the complete legal picture, but it can be affected by one-off non-cash charges that don't reflect how well the current business is performing.
That's a really important distinction for listeners to grasp. And how efficiently does Roche use its capital to generate these impressive profits and maintain its operations? What about their return on invested capital and their overall cash flow generation? Are they still a powerhouse there?
Roche has historically been an incredibly efficient generator of returns on its capital, while its return on invested capital, or ROIC, did see a decline from 31.0% in 2020 to 24.1% in 2024.
That sounds like a negative trend.
It can seem that way, but this was largely a consequence of investing heavily for future growth through several large acquisitions, which naturally increased their invested capital base. The key here is that even with this decline, the ROIC remains at an elite level compared to most peers, and the broader healthcare sector indicating continued highly efficient capital use.
Okay, so the return rate dipped because the investment base grew a lot.
Precisely. And make no mistake, Roche is a cash flow powerhouse. Their operating free cash flow surged an incredible 34% at CER in 2024 to CHF 20.1 billion.
20.1 billion in free cash flow.
Yeah, that is a massive war chest. It comfortably funds their substantial R&D investments, fuels their active and strategic M&A strategy, and underpins their consistently growing dividends. This exceptional financial strength provides Roche with incredible strategic flexibility. It allows them to pursue high-risk, high-reward scientific endeavors, make targeted strategic acquisitions to bolster their pipeline, and withstand unexpected market challenges without undue strain on their balance sheet. It truly differentiates them.
That massive cash flow clearly gives them a lot of strategic options. This leads us directly to how they're fueling future growth. It's clear Roche has navigated a tricky period financially. But what about the future? Where are they planting the seeds for the next generation of blockbusters and innovative diagnostics? What's in the pipeline?
This raises an important question. Can the current pipeline deliver the next wave of blockbusters? And how is Roche proactively managing this enormous undertaking? As of early 2025, Roche's pipeline is extensive. It contains 71 new molecular entities, or NMEs.
NMEs, meaning brand new drugs.
Brand new compounds, yeah, and a total of 122 projects across various stages of clinical development. Crucially, they recently undertook a significant portfolio review, terminating approximately 20% of their NME projects since the second quarter of 2023.
Cutting 20%. Is that good or bad?
It's a sign of highly disciplined management. This culling of projects ensures that precious R&D resources are directed towards only the most promising science, improving the overall efficiency and success rate of their pipeline. It's better to cut losses early than to pour money into assets with diminishing returns, a lesson many in the industry have learned the hard way.
Makes sense. Focus the resources. What are some highlights in the late-stage pipeline then, the ones closest to potentially reaching patients?
The late-stage pipeline in Phase 3 clinical trials, or already under regulatory review, holds several incredibly promising candidates. In oncology, they have inavolisib for advanced breast cancer, giredestrant for various breast cancer settings, and divarasib, which is a KRAS G12C inhibitor for non-small cell lung cancer, NSCLC, targeting a specific genetic mutation that's been hard to drug.
KRAS, yeah, that's a big target. What about other areas?
In neurology, fenebrutinib is an oral BTK inhibitor for MS, which has the potential to complement their market-leading infused Ocrevus by offering a convenient oral option. Big potential there. And prasinezumab is an alpha-synuclein antibody for early Parkinson's disease, which is definitely a high-risk, high-reward program tackling a devastating neurodegenerative condition.
Parkinson's. That would be huge if it works.
Absolutely. For immunology, afimkibart is a monoclonal antibody targeting inflammatory bowel diseases like ulcerative colitis and Crohn's, addressing chronic and debilitating conditions. This diverse pipeline shows a clear focus on high-need areas with significant market potential.
Beyond the pipeline, recent approvals are already boosting their portfolio. What are some of the key successes here, and what do they mean for patients and market defense?
Roche has secured several incredibly important regulatory approvals in 2024 that expand the market for its key products and reinforce its competitive position. Ocrevus SC was approved in Europe for subcutaneous injection. This is a crucial biobetter strategy, offering significant convenience for MS patients who can now receive the treatment as a quick, under-the-skin injection, potentially at home or in a less intensive clinical setting, rather than a full intravenous infusion.
Making life easier for MS patients.
Exactly. Alecensa, another successful drug, received approvals in the U.S. and Europe for adjuvant, or early-stage, ALK-positive lung cancer, significantly expanding its patient population beyond just advanced disease. Big market expansion. Vabysmo, which we discussed earlier for its explosive growth, received approval for an additional indication in retinal vein occlusion, further broadening its reach in ophthalmology.
More uses for Vabysmo.
Yes. And Piasky was approved in the U.S. for paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria, PNH, a rare and serious blood condition where red blood cells are prematurely destroyed. These approvals aren't just about new drugs entering the market, they're about expanding the utility and convenience of existing successful treatments and entering new, high-need areas.
And the sales numbers reflect that success.
Oh yes, the commercial success is evident. Vabysmo's Q1 2024 sales grew an astonishing 108% year-over-year, consistently beating expectations, while Phesgo and Polivy also showed robust growth, 81% and 70% respectively, in Q1 2024. These are powerful indicators of their ability to execute commercially.
And the diagnostics division isn't standing still either when it comes to innovation. What's happening on that front? Are they keeping pace?
Not at all standing still. In 2024 alone, the diagnostics division launched an impressive 4 new diagnostic platforms and 21 new tests across its core lab, molecular lab, and pathology lab segments. This continuous menu expansion is absolutely vital for driving recurring revenue growth, leveraging its massive installed base of over 100,000 diagnostic platforms worldwide.
Ah, the razors and blades model you mentioned.
Exactly. Roche sells the diagnostic instruments, the razors, and then continuously provides new tests to the blades, ensuring a steady, predictable revenue stream for years to come. This strategy is critical for ensuring their diagnostic moat remains strong and that they continue to be the partner of choice for labs and healthcare providers globally.
That's a clever analogy. Sometimes the fastest way to acquire new innovation is simply to buy it. What's been Roche's approach to strategic M&A recently? Are they back in the game after some earlier challenges with acquisitions?
Roche has certainly been more active in M&A since late 2023, signaling a renewed appetite for external innovation. They're focusing on what they call bolt-on acquisitions. These aren't mega mergers that redefine the company, but targeted deals to bolster their pipeline in high-growth, strategically important areas.
Can you give some examples of these bolt-ons?
Sure. For instance, they acquired Televon Holdings for $7.1 billion, which brought in a promising late-stage antibody, RVT-3101, for inflammatory bowel disease, targeting a major immunology market with unmet needs. They also made a significant strategic entry into the massive and fast-growing obesity and diabetes market with the $2.7 billion acquisition of Carmot Therapeutics, adding crucial clinical stage assets in a therapeutic area with enormous future potential.
Obesity, that's a huge market everyone's chasing now.
Absolutely massive.
Yeah.
And with Poseida Therapeutics, a $1.0 billion deal, they enhanced their capabilities in cell therapy, specifically allogeneic CAR-T for oncology. CAR-T, or chimeric antigen receptor T-cell therapy, is a revolutionary approach that engineers a patient's own T-cells to fight cancer, and allogeneic versions using donor cells could make it much more accessible.
So strategic buys in key areas like IBD, obesity, and cell therapy.
Precisely. This disciplined, science-driven approach to M&A is a core component of management strategy to supplement internal R&D and secure long-term growth drivers. It indicates a clear, renewed appetite for external innovation under their new CEO. This isn't just buying companies, it's buying future growth, targeting specific, high-potential areas that align perfectly with their long-term strategic vision.
So how does Roche pay for all this innovation, these massive R&D investments, these multi-billion-dollar acquisitions, and still reward its shareholders? Let's talk about the numbers game again. Capital allocation and shareholder returns. How do they balance it all?
This highlights Roche's incredibly balanced approach to capital allocation, an approach enabled by its powerful and predictable cash flow generation. It's truly a hallmark of a financially robust company. First, their dividend policy is a long-standing commitment that speaks volumes about their stability. Roche has a distinguished track record of increasing its dividend annually.
How long have they been doing that?
The proposed 2023 dividend of CHF 9.60 per share marked the 37th consecutive annual increase. And for 2024, a 1% increase to CHF 9.70 per share was proposed.
37 years of increases. That's impressive consistency.
It signals a strong, unwavering commitment to shareholder returns and speaks to the underlying stability and confidence management has in the business, even through challenging periods. For many investors, a forward dividend yield of approximately 3.6–3.8% provides a significant, reliable component of total shareholder return and offers a degree of valuation support, especially for income-focused investors.
And is it sustainable? Can they keep paying that out?
The dividend payout ratio of 51.7% of core EPS, earnings per share, for 2023 is highly sustainable, allowing for both these consistent dividends and substantial reinvestment back into the business. For many, a consistent growing dividend is a key indicator of a company's financial health, management's discipline, and its confidence in its future earning power.
While those dividends are a consistent and attractive return for shareholders, their approach to share buybacks seems more strategic, less routine. Can you elaborate on that? They don't just buy back shares constantly.
That's precisely right. Unlike some companies that have large recurring share buyback programs, Roche does not typically engage in them as a routine capital allocation mechanism. Instead, it has used buyback for very specific strategic purposes. The most significant recent transaction was the repurchase of 53.3 million shares held by its competitor, Novartis, back in December 2021.
Buying back shares from a rival.
Yes, this was a major strategic move for Roche, allowing them to regain full flexibility over their capital structure and simplify their corporate governance by removing a significant block of shares held by a rival. The repurchased shares were subsequently canceled, which had an accretive effect on earnings per share for the remaining shareholders by reducing the total number of shares outstanding. So this was a one-off strategic move aimed at long-term structural benefits rather than an ongoing mechanism to return capital.
But the primary use of capital is always R&D, isn't it? That's the engine that generates those new blockbusters and keeps the whole thing going.
Absolutely. The primary and most significant use of capital at Roche is consistently reinvestment into its R&D engine to fuel future innovation and growth. This is non-negotiable for a company whose entire business model relies on breakthrough science. In 2023 and 2024, core R&D investments were CHF $13.2 billion and CHF $13.0 billion, respectively, representing approximately 22.5% and 21.6% of group sales.
Still over 20% of sales plowed back into R&D.
Right. This level of investment is among the highest in the entire industry and is absolutely fundamental to sustaining its competitive advantage. It underscores their deep-seated belief that internal innovation, driven by cutting-edge science, is the bedrock of their long-term success and the ultimate source of future blockbusters and diagnostic breakthroughs. This massive, sustained investment is precisely why we see those new blockbusters in a robust pipeline. It's where the future of Roche is continuously being built.
So we've covered Roche's business, its place in the industry, its financials, and its growth drivers. But no deep dive is complete without looking at the road ahead, the challenges, the inherent risks, and the strategic vision guiding them forward. What are the most immediate challenges and opportunities Roche faces in the very near future, say, through 2025? What's on the horizon right now?
This is where we shift from understanding what has happened to what could happen, looking at the landscape with a forward-looking lens. Roche has successfully navigated a critical period between 2023 and 2025, but the future always holds new questions. In terms of recent developments and challenges, they've faced the ongoing loss of exclusivity for their major legacy oncology drugs like Avastin, Herceptin, and Rituxan, which saw that 22% fall in 2023. They're also preparing for the next wave.
The next patent cliff wave.
Exactly. With Perjeta and Oslera U.S. patent expirations in 2025 and potential biosimilar entry in 2026, these two drugs collectively generated over $4.3 billion in U.S. sales in 2024, so it's a significant portion of their revenue base at risk in the very near term.
$4.3 billion potentially facing competition soon.
It's a big number. On the positive side, the substantial COVID-19 normalization, that CHF $4.3 billion reduction in sales in 2023, is actually expected to be fully washed out by 2025, meaning it will no longer be a negative comparable for future growth.
So that headwind finally disappears from the comparisons.
Exactly. That's a huge positive for future growth comparisons. And as we've highlighted, key drug launch performances like Vabysmo, Phesgo, and Polivy have shown exceptional commercial success, providing powerful offsets to these declines. However, there have also been regulatory and pipeline updates. We saw positive approvals for Ocrevus SC and Alecensa label expansion, but also setbacks.
Like the TIGIT drug, tiragolumab.
Right, the discontinuation of their anti-TIGIT immunotherapy tiragolumab's trials. This reduced their near-term potential in a promising immuno-oncology area and is a stark reminder that even for industry leaders, drug development is inherently risky and full of unpredictable outcomes.
It's a reminder that even the biggest players face these kinds of roller coasters. It's never a straight line, is it? And managing these ups and downs is what defines a resilient company. A lot of this management and strategic direction falls on leadership. How has that evolved recently, and what's the vision of the new CEO, Dr. Scheinecker?
A leadership transition can often mark a pivotal shift in strategy and corporate culture. Dr. Thomas Scheinecker became Group CEO in 2023, succeeding Dr. Severin Schwan, who moved to chairman of the board. Under Scheinecker, there's a clear strategic vision that firmly focuses on leveraging Roche's unique integrated model. He has also demonstrated a renewed and disciplined appetite for strategic, science-driven M&A, as evidenced by those targeted acquisitions of Televant, Carma, and Poseda.
So doubling down on the integrated model, but adding strategic acquisitions.
Right. Scheinecker's emphasis on disciplined and science-driven M&A aligns perfectly with the need to replenish the pipeline effectively and secure long-term growth drivers, but crucially, without overpaying or diluting the strategic focus. His vision centers on preventing, stopping, and curing diseases, explicitly leveraging the combined strengths of pharma and diagnostics, which is a powerful and ambitious goal for the company.
let's broaden our view again to the inherent risks that Roche still faces. What are the major headwinds that could challenge their ambitious future plans, even with new leadership?
This is critical for any long-term perspective. Despite their strengths, Roche faces several significant risks that demand constant vigilance. First, the patent cliff exposure continues. We just discussed Perjeta and Alair U.S. patent expirations in 2025, with potential biosimilar entry in 2026. Beyond that, patents for current growth drivers like Ocrevus are set to expire around 2028-2029. This raises an important question. How effectively will Roche mitigate these coming patent expirations? Their bio-better strategy, like Phesgo, will be absolutely crucial here.
So, more Phesgo-like strategies needed. What else?
Then there are regulatory and clinical trial risks. The discontinuation of tiragolumab trials is a vivid and recent example that drug development is inherently risky, with high failure rates even in late stages. We also have currency exposure. A strong Swiss franc creates persistent translational headwinds on reported CHF results. For example, an 8 percentage point adverse impact on sales in 2023. This means operational growth can be masked.
Right, the currency again?
Competitive threats are always intense, from innovator companies like Merck with its dominant Keytruda to the structural threat from biosimilars and agile biotech challengers that can emerge quickly. There's also a dependence on key products and markets. Roche's growth is disproportionately dependent on the continued success of Ocrevus, Vabysmo, and Hemlibra, and the U.S. market, which still accounts for over 53% of pharmaceutical revenue. This concentration increases vulnerability.
And the big one, pricing pressure.
And perhaps one of the most significant long-term risks is healthcare policy and pricing pressure. The U.S. Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA, allowing Medicare price negotiation, is a significant long-term risk for all pharma companies with high-value drugs. It fundamentally impacts future profitability in their largest market. Globally, reforms, like China's pricing reforms, already caused a 15% decline in Asia-Pacific diagnostic sales in H1 2025. When you see headlines about drug pricing debates, this is the real-world impact on a company like Roche. It influences everything from R&D investment decisions to the prices you might eventually pay for treatments.
When we consider these diverse risks and opportunities, how does the market view Roche right now? What does the valuation tell us about investor sentiment? Are they seen as expensive, cheap, fairly valued?
Roche's valuation metrics show it trading within historical ranges, having compressed somewhat from its 2021 peaks. Its P/E ratio, which is price to earnings, around 19.0x on a trailing 12-month TTM basis, and its EV/EBITDA, which is enterprise value to earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, around 10.7x TTM, reflect market concerns over the patent cliff headwinds and the broader impact of higher interest rates.
So the valuation reflects some caution from the market.
It seems so. The PZ is higher than some direct pharmaceutical peers like Merck or Pfizer, but it's generally in line with others like Novartis. This is often justified by Roche's perceived quality, the stability provided by its diagnostics business, and its strong track record of innovation. Its EV/EBITDA is comparable to the healthcare sector average, suggesting it's not wildly over or undervalued relative to the industry.
What about that sum of the parts idea? Does the market value the two divisions together fully?
Right, sum of the parts, SOTP analysis, is particularly relevant for Roche. This is where analysts try to value the pharmaceutical and diagnostics divisions separately to see if the market fully values its integrated model or applies a conglomerate discount, essentially valuing the combined entity less than the sum of its individual parts. Its consistent dividend yield of approximately 3.8% is also attractive compared to many bond yields and peers, offering a degree of valuation support for income-oriented investors. So while the market acknowledges its strengths, it's also clearly factoring in the ongoing challenges.
So what's the grand strategy for the future? The overarching vision that CEO Scheinecker is aiming for, particularly with those new M&A moves like Carmot into obesity.
CEO Thomas Scheinecker's strategic vision centers on that ambitious goal of preventing, stopping, and curing diseases, explicitly leveraging the combined strengths of pharma and diagnostics. This vision directly supports a focused approach on disease areas with the highest projected societal burden by 2035: cancer, cardiovascular metabolic diseases, and neurological diseases.
Okay, clear focus areas.
And this is directly supported by their disciplined M&A strategy, like the Carmot acquisition for obesity and cardiovascular metabolic conditions, and Poseda for cancer cell therapy, as well as rigorous pipeline prioritization. Management projects mid-single-digit sales growth and high single-digit core EPS growth for 2025, indicating confidence in their near-term momentum.
What about that Carmot deal specifically? How big a deal could the obesity market be for Roche?
The success of the Carmot acquisition and its strategic entry into the massive and rapidly expanding obesity market could be a key determinant of Roche's growth profile in the 2030s. This represents a huge calculated bet on a new, rapidly expanding therapeutic area that could fundamentally reshape their growth trajectory for decades. It's a major strategic move.
That integrated model also raises questions about efficiency and flexibility, right? With such a large and diverse company, is there potential for further portfolio optimization, maybe even divesting certain parts, like diagnostics, as some investors suggest?
It absolutely does raise those questions. While management is publicly committed to the integrated model, the idea of a potential spin-off of the diagnostics division to unlock value is a perennial topic among investors, particularly if a conglomerate discount persists in their valuation. The recent divestiture of their Vacaville manufacturing facility to Lonza for $1.2 billion in October 2024 shows a clear willingness from the new leadership to optimize non-core assets and streamline operations.
So they are willing to sell off pieces if they aren't core.
It suggests that, yes, this is a classic business dilemma. Is the whole greater than the sum of its parts, or would the parts be valued more highly on their own in the eyes of investors? For now, the integrated model remains central, but this willingness to optimize non-core assets suggests an openness to strategic flexibility down the line.
Finally, how does technology, especially the disruptive force of AI, play into all of this, and how are they defending market share in the face of such rapid change? What's the tech strategy?
AI is truly a dual-edged sword for Roche. On one hand, it's a powerful tool they're investing heavily in for R&D, promising to accelerate drug discovery, optimize clinical trials, and improve diagnostic accuracy. On the other hand, AI could also lower barriers to entry in drug discovery for smaller, more agile competitors, potentially increasing the number of threats over the long term.
So how do they defend against that?
Roche is strategically moving beyond the pill to create comprehensive disease franchises. In multiple sclerosis, for example, we talked about how they offer the infused Ocrevus, the subcutaneous Ocrevus SC, and have the novel oral therapy, fenebrutinib, in development. This aims to increase switching costs for clinicians and make it difficult for competitors to penetrate, as they're offering a complete ecosystem of care. Proactive lifecycle management via those biobetters like Phesgo is also a critical part of this defense strategy. The successful execution of these defense strategies will be a critical indicator of the company's long-term resilience and profitability as they face the next wave of patent expirations and technological disruption.
Wow, what an incredible journey into Roche Holding AG. We've seen a company not just surviving, but absolutely thriving by strategically adapting to massive industry shifts and some truly formidable headwinds.
Indeed, Roche stands as a powerful example of how a diversified healthcare giant navigates a world of patent cliffs, technological revolutions, and intense pricing pressures, all while striving for that goal of personalized healthcare. They successfully shifted their revenue base from legacy blockbusters to a new cohort of growth drivers, demonstrating remarkable resilience and a clear, science-driven path forward.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener? Let's quickly recap some key takeaways from this deep dive. First, Roche's integrated pharma plus diagnostics model is its core differentiator and a significant competitive moat, fostering that personalized healthcare approach by connecting diagnosis directly to treatment.
Right. And second, the company has successfully overcome major headwinds, including a significant patent cliff and the massive decline in COVID-19 diagnostics revenue, by rapidly growing a new portfolio of innovative medicines like Ocrevus, Hemlibra, Vabysmo, and Phesgo.
Third, strategic M&A, like the Carmot acquisition for obesity and diabetes, combined with sustained high R&D investment, are key to securing future growth drivers, alongside proactive biobetter strategies like Phesgo to defend against biosimilars.
Yeah, and fourth, despite strong financial health and consistent dividends, Roche faces significant long-term risks from global pricing pressures, particularly the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act, upcoming patent expirations for key products like Perjeta and Xolair, and the dual threat and opportunity presented by artificial intelligence.
And finally, the shift from reliance on individual blockbuster drugs to establishing comprehensive disease franchise dominance is a crucial part of its evolving market share defense strategy, covering all the bases in a disease area.
It truly encourages critical thinking about how major companies innovate and adapt in a constantly evolving landscape. It's not about standing still, is it? It's about constant evolution, managing complex risks, and making strategic bets on the future while maintaining a core identity.
Exactly. And that brings us to our provocative thought for you to mull over. In an era where AI promises to accelerate drug discovery and personalized medicine is becoming the gold standard, Will Roche's unique, integrated model become an unassailable fortress? Or will its sheer size make it too slow to adapt to the agile, specialized biotech challengers of tomorrow? And maybe think about this. How might their strategic bet on the massive obesity market fundamentally reshape their identity and market position a decade from now? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
We hope you feel much more informed about the intricate world of Roche and the broader healthcare industry.